All right, we are back. This is it's a new day, another day celebrating the 2025 Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc, and I am joined by one of my favorite people to have on the podcast, Abby Hall. Abby, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Finn. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I mean, I was just telling you offline that I thought that the interview that you did with Free Trail was fantastic, and there is now a motto that we live by this week, which is leaving Courmayeur. And I would say that today, Monday, what is it, the 25th, is our leaving Courmayeur day for
I
single
love
track
that.
work. So, by the way, before I forget, quick station ID. Thank you to NAC, Norda, Goreware, and Raid for making our coverage possible. Go check out their stuff in the show notes. Um, Thanks to them a bunch for making this possible. First question for you, going a little bit back in the archives, and this is top of mind for me because I love the multi-day scene, I love the FKT scene, and when I'm not doing media stuff, it's kind of what I'm interested in. You did Pneumo Pollo, the JMT, back in the middle of the pandemic, and whenever I know like a lot of the professional world transitioned to that scene out of necessity, but I've always wanted to know in your case, like how much was like that particular scene in that trail like the most accurate reflection of like what you actually want to do in the sport?
I mean, you mean as far as like what my personal long-term goals are versus maybe what my career goals are in the
And
sport?
in that type of project, yeah.
I mean, that one was super personal for me, I think, because it was one of my very first goals in the sport. So it was not like a 2020, like, let me come up with a goal. That was the first goal that drove me to move to Boulder. Was I left LA and I was like, I need to live somewhere where I can prepare for the JMT. And I thought about moving to the Eastern Sierra. At that point, I felt like I knew there were more people in Boulder, and that was like a surefire way for me to meet some like-minded folks that like also want to do stuff like that. And went for that in 2016. That was like right after Cordis and I started dating, and I was like, if I buy you a plane ticket to California, will you come support me at this JMT event? Bailed like, JMT event, JMT attempt. Bailed like 45 miles into it, and then like Cordis and I ended up just having like a great trip out to California. So that was like a marked failure for me, and one of the first times that the sport really kind of broke my heart and took me back to the drawing board. So the thought wasn't like, I failed at the JMT and now what can I succeed at? It was like, how can I like get back to mastery at something like that? And for me, the path there was kind of like, let's like keep racing and signing up for races and learning about my body and training for these things and repeat. So then 2020 felt like a logical window to go back for it. So I think for me, it kind of represents, I think, throughout my time in the sport so far, there's like, I think many layers of these like long-term goals that are, some of which go dormant at times, but like JMT goals absolutely still there. And there have been even many times during this season where I'm like, can I do it this fall? Like
Wow.
it's definitely still top of, maybe not top of mind, but like just below top of mind, whatever that would be.
Is and again, maybe it is multifaceted, but if you had to pick like a primary factor, do you just like multi-day? Is it just the beauty of that route? Like what does it for you?
For me, it's like a heartstring to that route in that area. And I kind of have like a personal rule of like anytime something like makes me want to cry when I like think about it, that's like, I'm like, go that way. That is like an arrow. And I, yeah, just have such a pull to that place. And it's for me like where I first developed a curiosity around trail and ultra running. And yeah, it's kind of like the one that I first, what's the dance with the one that brung you? That kind of phrase. It's the one that first brung me.
I would ask the same thing to, Katie Scheid or Caleb Wilson, Jim Walmsley, anyone that's sort of at the top of the sport, winning the biggest races, Western States, UTMB. And I know there's a ton of enthusiasm for UTMB. Like I'm not disputing that, but um, like at this point in your career, do you feel, again, even just setting aside partners and stuff, do you feel like you have a lot of flexibility in terms of how you drop your schedule and what you could do, like on a quarter to quarter, year to year basis?
I think I feel lucky that my personal goals for racing do line up with kind of like what the big ones are, but I also feel like maybe that's no coincidence because I also like to go where the competition is. Like that is what genuinely excites me. And I do feel that kind of like, I don't know, maybe we could call it an American thing of like the pull to the 100-miler. But I think because it's always been kind of like the white whale to me, I've been like so like eager to nail one. So for me, like that has continued to draw me to, yeah, races like UTMB or Western States. I think for a while I felt like I really wanted to be specializing in like 100K and things like that. But yeah, I feel pretty excited about the 100-mile distance right now. And I think it's like where the most growth for me still lies and the most opportunity. And I'm just still finding so much. I genuinely enjoy so much like the puzzle of putting it together, of the layers of fitness and specificity and mindset, and even like, I don't know, like your soulscape, like where you're at. I feel like there's a lot of dials that need to be turned for success at it, and that is just keeps pulling me in.
Are there, because I know this was a theme going into Western, are there any residual limiting beliefs left around the 100-mile distance going into UTMB? Or do you feel like, are you someone where like if you got it once, that's like, there's like staying power there in terms of confidence?
It's a little bit of both. I think race to race, I mean, the 100-miler is certainly like an unpredictable event. And that's, I think what makes it special is like nothing's ever guaranteed. You have to go out and prove it every time. And even though I think there are people that are absolute masters of going out and proving it again and again every single time, yeah, nothing is guaranteed at a race that brings you some different challenge, every time you start. But at the same time, I do feel like Western States kind of like, to me, closed the gap between like where I always believed I could be and like where I am. And that's also been a really affirming thing. Really affirming, if anything, that like the process is working, that like the people I have around me, like that's working, the training's working, the mindset's working, which I think is a really particular thing to come to. I mean, it takes a long time. I mean, I've been doing this sport for 9 years now, and it feels like, been trying hundreds for 8 years of that. And so like, it takes a while to arrive at like what your formula is, so to speak.
Where are the biggest opportunities for growth right
now? I think for me right now, like I feel really eager to like do it again, and to like find my form of mastery at 100-milers, and to develop consistency around it. I think I, especially at UTMB, have like some unfinished business here for sure. Had a rough go here last year. I mean, the context around that I think was, I was in a really different place in my journey. Like in some ways, like I feel like the greatest contrast maybe in where I was last year and where I am now, like that gap feels like greater than any, up and down along the whole roller coaster. So it's like unique to be back here, feeling like myself. And so I feel like maybe like event specific growth. I feel like I figured out for me what success looks like at a Western States and like how to achieve that and attain that. And now I feel excited to like apply that across other races that pull me in.
This is something you mentioned offhand when we chatted with you post-Western in Auburn, and I neglected to follow up on it, so I'm doing it here. You said then that one of the biggest opportunities is, what did I write down here? It's the ability to endure at the sharp end of competing. And I think that's like an amazing phrase. Ben Demon talked about it too. He said sort of like, I sort of like, I would like flatline late in these races, like when I needed to push, when I needed to stick with someone or, maintain sort of like a commanding lead. I like lost the ability to stay present with the competition, and it was all about survival. And it sounded like you talked about that a little bit too.
Yeah, I think at like Western States it feels, I don't know. I'm not sure if my personal experience at UTMB last year is like affecting how I view it as an event and what it feels. I'm sure it is, because I think of UTMB as just being like so brutal and like even at the front of the field, so like so much about like problem solving and putting one foot in front of the other versus like I think the sharp end at Western States feels like racing the whole time. And I'm excited to like hopefully find that maybe when I return to UTMB this year, I will feel like I'm racing at the front of it, and not, just like, taking it. Yeah. So I think, I don't know, it feels kind of like for Western States, I feel like I earned it in training and got to go do it in racing. I feel like UTMB, like you kind of earn it during the race. Like the training for UTMB feels a little bit more like universally fun versus say like the training for Western States, I think feels a little less glamorous than the thing itself. And it feels like it's a little flipped for UTMB where like the training's really fun. Like you're doing these long days in the mountains and then you get out there and you kind of like have to fight for it and earn it during the race.
Yeah, I was reading one of Lucy Bartholomew's recent posts, and she talked about her training. She's like, I got to do like 3 laps of the mountain in the last. I'm like, oh wow, that sounds so tough.
Yeah. That's true. There's like, I mean, the training's also no joke. It's
no,
big
I mean
days
like what a joy it is just to like do the loop 3 times and stop at all the refugios. Like that's just amazing training.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, you just got off your loop. Looked like a fun
Oh my
time.
gosh, I already respected it, but like that section from Lake Contamine to Courmayeur, especially doing that in the night. Like we did it in the middle of the day, and it was brutal for us. And those last 3 climbs after Champ-Lac, the Bovine climb is super technical.
Yeah.
I did the race in 2021 CCC.
Yeah.
And they rerouted the climb.
Yeah, the Triant climb.
Or the very last one out of Valercine. It feels like that's changed.
Oh yeah, it has changed. It's not Tetomont anymore. I miss Tetomont.
I think I miss it too.
I really miss it.
Yeah.
It was such a nice dramatic finish, and then you're like up on the high balcon at that point, and there's always like bighorn sheep, and it was like always a really cool vibe. I do miss that.
But yeah, speaking about the course, if like the puzzle pieces are, if the most important puzzle pieces at Western States are like heat management, surviving the high country, getting through the canyons, like what do you see as, for you at least, the most important puzzle pieces on this course?
I think managing yourself through the night physically and emotionally is a big one. I had a warm year last year. I was in a t-shirt all night. I think it's going to be a very different scene this year. I predict it being very tough for people to leave Courmayeur this year with a cold and wet, maybe even snowy night. I predict that being really hard on people. I like joked to someone yesterday, like people are going to have to be obsessed with this race to leave Courmayeur. You have to like really, really want it in some deep part of yourself. Because that's like when it's most appealing to hop in a warm car with your crew. It's dark out. You just kind of want to fade away and like not, continue. I feel like then the next challenge is really like from Courmayeur to Champ-Lac, like holding yourself to like an honest effort through there. And then I think really from Champ-Lac to the finish, it's like just kind of this, like battle of grit and final moves, and like seeing beyond the current circumstances, because I think it feels like all is lost. I feel like I'm speaking about it in really dramatic terms, and I don't mean to sound too like hyperbolic, And maybe this is again just my experience last year. That's like, just like I feel so much reverence for it, and I'm glad last year taught me that.
Yeah.
But I also know it's going to be very, very hard.
Is there, as you're studying the course and you're studying people who have come before you, and you look at all that, is there a style that someone has done it in that you're trying to replicate? Like, is there like an ideal race that you've seen out there and you're like, oh, like I love the way Ruth Croft executed 1 year, something like that?
I think I know what a successful day, like in style, looks like for me out there. And I think that's really different person to person. Like, yeah, not like a particular race coming to mind, but I think, I'm really inspired by anyone who's able to be like running a good split Champ Lac to the finish. That is like incredibly admirable. That is very difficult to accomplish and like requires an incredible amount of patience to arrive at Champ Lac in that position, like say Ruth did. That is really remarkable. For those who haven't really maybe looked closely at it, go check out her splits from Champ Lac to the finish. It's really incredible. Yeah.
Are you is it natural for you to embrace inclement weather and the night in general?
I love night. I really enjoy the night.
Okay.
Quite a bit. And it's not uncommon for me to be like running with a headlamp like at home, especially like in the winter months. I love running like in that like early evening kind of time slot, and I really like the peace and quiet of night and just kind of feeling like I'm in my own little tunnel. I really quite enjoy that. Inclement weather, like not so much a natural sweet spot for me because I am pretty like drawn to like being in warmer, sunnier places. But I do like how it like forces you to kind of like turn on, employ the grit earlier on in the race. I think it's like just another layer of things to compete at. Katie and I were joking earlier this week. It's like, I'm going to be soaking wet, just like Western States, but just cold and soaking wet.
So then, like, I mean, bringing back the JMT, that must have been an asset for you.
Yeah.
Like multi-day, but like the night, like that would terrify me.
Yeah.
But that was like your cocoon.
I think probably like something like JMT like taught me to enjoy that too, because I did, 4 consecutive overnights solo where I was moving for most of the night, and I feel like that really taught me to turn the night into like my superpower a little bit, and just lean into it. I really love night, honestly.
To me, you come across as someone that is like pretty eternally positive and like just generally stoked on the sport, but has there been any challenge in switching gears for this race?
I think one thing I think the biggest shifting gears for me has been like emotionally going from a career high to like back to the start of the circle again, so to speak, of like, back to a start line, back to an opportunity, back to a blank, I think blank canvas. I think I felt for a little bit this summer like, oh, do I have to kind of like let go of that high of Western States in order to latch on to the next goal? And I feel like like I mentioned in the free trail interview, like I don't think I'm coming to the conclusion that maybe I don't need to like be letting go of that, and I can like take that with me, take that feeling along with me. But I definitely tried to not force it. I didn't want it to feel like an assumption that I was going to do UTMB or had to. I wanted it to feel like a choice that I was going to make. So I tried to keep things pretty open-ended through July, and then threw in like some longer runs at home at the end of July just to test the waters of like, is this feeling fun for me, and do I want to like, get back into long runs, or do I need more time? And ultimately I've been feeling really just like eager for another opportunity. I think that like when I was injured, I remember there were so many chapters that I looked back at and thought like, man, I was so picky about like when I would toe a line. And like, I remember like, you know, being laid up on the couch and looking back at those times and being like, I should have like, you know, I should have done that race. I should have tacked on one more. I was so fit, so like in such a good spot, but it's so easy to be really picky with like the sensations or the, you know, like I don't know, like letting perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah. Let's assume that like someone is listening to this interview 2 years from now. Like it's beyond this UTMB race, and they found themselves in the position that you did after Western States. You won a massive race, and yeah, they definitely, they're willing to tolerate or accept a certain amount of change in their life and pressure and stuff like that, but they still want to maintain like a sense of normalcy through it all, and just like still have this mindset where like they can compete with like, I don't know, not too much pressure around them or something like that. Like what's worked for you in terms of absorbing Western and like still being your best self before something like UTMB?
I think it felt really great in July to just like, you know, we went off in our van, like went out to the San Juans, like, you know, got out there for Hard Rock. For me, it was really fun to like, I mean, I didn't do like any big crewing role or anything, but just like did like an aid station for Katie and like a couple little jobs. And like, it was really fun to like shift gears into like helping someone else. So that's like one I would say for sure is like, it's fun to like get back in a racing environment in another context, like whether you're helping at it or cheering or like whatever. And I think also for me, it's felt like nice to like race again, and to not, I don't know, there was almost this part of me that felt like, oh, do I need to like, I don't know, like maintain some streak now or something where I'm only stepping up to the start line if I feel, and it's like, no, that's not how I felt before Western States. Like I just felt like, you know, hungry and curious and like scrappy, and like I don't want it to change like the conditions that I feel like make it worth it for me to line up. So right. Yeah, for me, it's felt really good to say like, yeah, like let's race again. Like there's, you know, no false illusions here that it's going to be hard, that like it's going to be imperfect, but it's about, you know, like feeling like I can, I don't know, grow from the experience and enjoy myself and feel like I'm, you know, getting to do more of what I love.
Yeah, I think as a fan, one of the most compelling storylines this year was just following your saga of taking all these shots on goal for a golden ticket.
Yeah.
And not hiding. And yeah, I guess there is like the trade-off of like, at this point you could be more picky, but I selfishly, as someone who likes to watch the sport, it's fun to like still see you out there.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday or whatever the phrase is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and just like, yeah, seeing the field that was like forming here is just like, I wanted to be part of that. And it's, yeah, really exciting. I think, yeah, like the main thing for me was just making sure that I wasn't like gonna have to turn myself inside out to do so. And I feel like I've had some like nice calm weeks in between the two that like have helped me kind of refill the mental and emotional and physical reservoirs to like, you know, go empty the tanks again.
This is probably super inside baseball, but I feel like some people would be curious to know like how this all shaped out. And I'll give you an example. So Caleb, good friend, he won Western on the men's side, and it was really interesting to see like the outreach that he got post-race, just like interesting media outlets, people locally in the Salt Lake City area, like the mayor reached out, the governor, all that kind of stuff. You were on Good Morning America.
Yeah.
Talk about just like your DMs and stuff, like just like the opportunities that came to me. Because I was like, for Caleb, like this is like, it's amazing where our sport has gotten in terms of people being impressed by that race and those results.
Oh, 100%. I think for me, that was what excited me most about it, was feeling like people far and wide really like care about and are following the sport. And it's a really exciting time to be a part of things. I mean, I think I was really excited to see also that people, way more than I expected, like latched on to like the injury journey comeback piece. I didn't know if that would have to be, or if that would be something that it's kind of like, if you know, you know, or if, but I just remember like opening my phone after the race and I was like so surprised to instantly see that like that story arc was actually like what people were really latching on to. Especially I think because I had felt kind of like my comeback was like UTMB last year. Like I felt like I had already kind of like did the comeback. I guess it's like the comeback in the sense of like achieving something big, but like I felt like, you know, for like friends and people that had been close to it, it was kind of like, oh yeah, like that had already happened a while ago, but it's like, it was cool to see that like people were interested in that story. And I was like happy that that's what people were noticing.
Yeah. This is kind of a hypothetical, but you made me think this. You know, hearing you at the top of the conversation talking about how that 2016 JMT failure was just all consuming, or it felt like doomsday, end of the road for, you know, what you're doing in the sport. And then of course the injury. Do you feel like you've had enough proof points with like the arc of setbacks that if another thing was to come your way, you would have like a pretty bulletproof mentality about like the faith on the other side of it?
100%. Yeah. Like, I feel like there definitely were a lot of times in there it was kind of like fake it till I make it, meaning like kind of believe that this is going to make me better kind of blindly. Like, cause you know, you get told that by a number of people and it's kind of hard to like actually believe that it could be a reality. But like seeing that storyline really come through and happen was incredibly validating to like that it all worked, like that the mindset stuff worked, that the following the process stuff worked, like all these things that we talk about in podcasts and like buzzwords and all of that, like that's not just like a tidy answer to give. That's like, it's actually been kind of the way for me. And that's been an incredible validator of that.
A few more questions before we go. Thinking about just like how much of an investment it is to be over here for this race preparing. You've now been here multiple summers. From like an uprooting standpoint, leaving Flag, has it become easy to like set up a lifestyle here and be away from home and getting ready for this race?
Honestly, I feel like it gets harder and harder.
Really?
A little bit. I think, I don't know if it's just like maybe like getting older or something, of just feeling like I love home. And like, I think especially because like the block before Western was so like, it was just so cool to be doing that from home and to be like, you know, in my places and have, you know, my people, my routine and all that nearby. It was hard to like pick up and leave that this summer, maybe more than ever. But that being said, I do feel like we've gotten good at establishing like a rhythm out here, and it does make it easier that like so many of our friends and stuff are out here right now. So it you know, is really cool to have like people nearby, have our team, you know, have the team nearby and feel like that support too. So I do feel like in a rhythm out here for sure, but yeah, like home grows more important to me each season.
Are you building a playlist on Spotify for this race? And if so,
Yes.
who are a few of the bands and songs on there?
Let's see here. Great question. There's going to be a lot of System of a Down.
Okay.
Like a lot. Like some of the runs I've been on recently, I'm like, we've got to put even way more System of a Down on there than I even thought.
Is that genre new to you, or is it something that's kind of been classic in your...
I would say it's been like growing over the last like, probably post-injury.
Okay.
Post-injury has been kind of my shift into like Limp Bizkit, System of a Down, like a lot of that.
What, is it a little grunge, would you say?
Yeah, like,
okay.
I don't know. Yeah, what would you call that? Like grunge, like new metal?
New metal, okay, yeah.
I'm not giving up Brat Girl Summer at all. Like, why not this summer too? I'm like, lots of Charlie XCX on there. I think like it's gonna honestly be grouped into a few playlists, kind of like if it's calling for like rage or like vibes, you know?
Yeah.
Time and a place for both. I do really like I remember thinking the last year that the playlist I made for UTMB was way too energetic for what the event actually was.
Yeah.
I felt like, when you're on like grinding on some climb and like a 2.5 minute pop song blazes by, it really like adds to the feeling of how long you're out there. So I think like things that like, having like blocks of like genre in there to like settle your mind into it is helpful.
My brother is the music aficionado in our family, and I have come to appreciate that building a Spotify playlist is an art form.
It's an absolute art form.
He had one set up for me for Cocodona this past year. Maybe this is good intel for Cordis. That like, it was he knew the course so well and where we would be that like he knew he would select songs for like the time of day and like climbs and descents and where he suspected I would be emotional and stuff. It was really cool.
Did he by chance like make like some of the reels and content while you were out there?
That was Emily.
Oh, that was Emily.
That was Emily. Yeah.
Because I loved a lot of the song choices.
Oh, okay. So he selected the songs.
Okay, he selected the songs.
He selected the songs.
Because I was like, gosh, I want to hear that. I would love for you to drop that playlist because there were some really good ones in there.
Okay, this is yeah, we're going deep into family here, but he has I have to shout out his blog. He has a blog called Old Filters New Light.
Okay.
And it's weekly, and he puts out his favorite like new 5 to 6 songs, and he goes into sort of just like the philosophy behind them. He tries to analyze the lyrics, and
great.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Hopefully we can give him a couple email subs.
That's so great. It seems like that like thoughtfulness runs in the family.
Oh yeah. I
love that.
We'll throw his Spotify profile in the show notes.
By the way, like the question about playlists is like always the question that I hope like I'll get asked in one of these things. So I think it's really fun to talk about.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I wish there was even like a Strava type thing on Spotify where you could kind of like map the songs to the seasons of your life.
Oh,
and,
totally. Yeah.
I don't even like drop comments and stuff on things. So.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, anyways, always a pleasure to chat. Appreciate you. Excited to follow your race on Saturday, and thank you for helping us leave Courmayeur today.
I love that. Thanks, Finn. I always love coming on here, so thanks as always for a really thoughtful chat.